They didn't even give me a table. They sat me next to the coat rack. A folding chair against the wall, wedged between the catering prep door and a stand of umbrellas. That's where they put me. At my grandson's wedding. I had dressed for the occasion. My best dress pressed and proper. Hair set at the salon. Cream-colored gloves stitched at the edges, the kind of gloves women wore when events mattered. I carried a gift. An envelope tied with a silver ribbon. A check tucked inside and a note signed, "For your future with love. Grandma M." I thought it meant something. But apparently I didn't. The girl at the welcome table couldn't have been more than 20. Hair dyed cherry red. Jaw chewing gum while she scanned the guest list. "Name?" she asked, bored. "Hale. Margaret Hale," I said, steady, holding out the envelope. She didn't even take it. Just ran a finger down the paper. "H. Hale, yeah. Overflow's over there." "Overflow?" I repeated. "Family overflow," she mumbled, pointing toward the corner by the entrance. "Sorry. Full house tonight." And that was that. The hallway smelled faintly of lemon polish. Dark wood panels lined the walls. A single folding chair waited under a sign that read "Family Guests." Not family. Not honored. Just overflow. I sat, my hands folded neatly in my lap. I told myself someone would come for me. Someone would say, "Goodness no, she's the grandmother. Bring her in." But no one came. Through the double doors I heard the announcer's voice boom. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. and Mrs. James Hale." Cheers erupted. Music spilled out. My grandson and his bride swept into their future, all light and applause, while I sat alone with a stack of used champagne flutes beside me. I waited, my back stiff against the chair, my knees aching in the chill. A waiter rushed past carrying hors d'oeuvres, not even glancing my way. I almost laughed when I saw one of the leftover glasses still had a sip of champagne in it. Margaret Hale, grandmother of the groom, reduced to drinking someone else's dregs. I lifted my envelope instead. My fingers trembled, but not from nerves. From hours of being unseen. I thought about Shelby, the bride. A pretty girl, all polish and certainty, with a smile that said the world owed her linen napkins and candelabras. I'd met her once. She didn't look at me twice. Her family had connections. And money, or at least the appearance of it. My daughter-in-law had hinted last month. "It's going to be such an elegant affair," she said. "James wants everything perfect. The venue is well expensive. But worth it." I nodded. I didn't tell her the truth. That the venue, the marble floors, the soaring ceilings, the gold sconces belonged to me. 15 years ago, after Harold died, I bought it. I couldn't stand the thought of strangers tearing down the place where we'd danced, where he'd proposed after the war. I kept my name off the paperwork. Only the management company knew. I never told my family. And tonight, here they were, celebrating beneath my chandeliers, while I sat outside like luggage left in the hallway. A girl carrying drinks paused when she saw me. "Excuse me, are you all right?" "I'm fine, dear," I said. Her brow creased. "Here?" "But I'm his grandmother," I told her plainly. "Margaret Hale." Her lips parted in surprise. "Would you like me to tell someone?" "No," I said. "Let them enjoy their night." She hesitated, then pressed a fresh glass of champagne into my hand. "I'll come check on you later." I nodded. "Thank you." The doors swung open, revealing chandeliers and white linens, laughter spilling out like smoke. Shelby and James twirled across the dance floor, his hand on her waist, her earrings catching the light. Everyone cheered. Phones flashed. No one noticed me in the hall. I sipped my champagne slowly. I would not make a scene. I would not cry. I would wait. Wait until they remembered who made this night possible. But no one did. The speeches began. James's voice carried faintly through the door. "To Shelby, my incredible wife. To our parents, especially Shelby's folks, who made all this possible." Applause thundered. Glasses clinked. No mention of me. My hand shook as I set down the glass. I glanced at the paper sign again. Family guests. Not family. Guests of the family. Technicality. That's all I was now. The ache in my chest eased only when I saw a familiar figure rush from the banquet room. Sage green dress. Brown hair. My granddaughter. "Grandma." Emma whispered, dropping to her knees beside me. Oh, thank God. I thought you hadn't come. I did come, I said simply. She looked around in disbelief. Why are you sitting here? That's where they put me. Her face twisted. What? Did he see you? I haven't seen him. But this can't be right. You're his grandmother. I gave her a small smile. Apparently, the tables were full. Emma's jaw worked, her eyes burning. She was 21 now, a senior in college. Thoughtful, steady, the only one who still called me every week. I'll fix this, she said fiercely. I'll talk to the planner or Shelby or Dad. No, I said firmly. Don't make a scene. But you can't just sit here. I can. I am. She dragged another folding chair over and sat beside me. Fine. Then we'll both be outcasts. I almost laughed. You'll wrinkle your dress. It's already wrinkled. We broke bread stolen from a basket, crumbs scattered across our laps, 2 church mice exiled from the feast. She whispered. Why didn't you say anything? Because this isn't about a chair, I said. It's about being seen. And they don't see me, Emma. Haven't for years. She didn't argue. She listened. That's what I loved about her. The night stretched on. Strangers passed by, glancing at me like I was wallpaper. Even the mother of the bride brushed past without recognition. Pale blue dress, hair sculpted into something costly, perfume heavy in the air. She looked through me as if I were invisible. And maybe I was. Until Mr. Lang appeared, the venue manager. He stopped short when he saw me. Mrs. Hale. I didn't realize you were attending. You're not inside? No, I said. There must have been a mistake. Should I? Not yet, I cut in. Emma looked between us, confused. Is everything okay? Lang cleared his throat. I'll check in later. He hurried off. Emma frowned. What did he mean by property? I only folded the envelope deeper into my purse. Let them toast each other tonight. Tomorrow they'll remember who owns the roof over their heads. And still I waited. The applause inside the banquet hall rose again, rolling like thunder, muffled by the heavy double doors. I sat listening, my hands folded neatly, my gloves creased now at the knuckles. My back ached against the sharp edge of the folding chair, but I didn't move. Movement meant weakness. Movement meant giving myself away. Emma shifted beside me, restless. She was never good at hiding her feelings. Her eyes flicked to the banquet doors every few seconds, then back to me. They should be ashamed, she muttered finally, so low I almost didn't catch it. They should, I agreed. But they aren't. She turned, her brows knitting. Then why do you let them get away with it? I looked at her carefully, the way you look at someone you love but don't want to burden. Because, darling, sometimes silence is more powerful than shouting. Her lips pressed together, unsatisfied with that answer, but she didn't argue. She just sat, twisting the strap of her purse until the metal clasp squeaked. The DJ's voice boomed again inside. Now let's hear from the father of the groom, Andrew Hale. I froze. My son's name cut through me sharper than the cold air. Emma tensed too, her gaze darting to me. Through the door, his voice carried, warm and confident, so practiced it almost sounded rehearsed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here tonight. We wouldn't be here without the love and support of Shelby's family. Their generosity made this evening possible. The guests erupted with applause. Emma sucked in a breath. Did you hear that? I heard it. Every syllable. My son, the boy I raised, the man I fed and clothed through lean years, stood under my chandeliers thanking someone else for their generosity. Emma shook her head, furious. He's lying. He's just lying. I laid a hand on her wrist. Sweetheart, your father lies about many things. This is hardly the worst. Her eyes shimmered, angry tears threatening. But it's not right. No, I said. It's not. I thought of Harold. If he'd been alive, he would have stormed through those doors, taken the microphone, and embarrassed Andrew in front of everyone. He never had much patience for vanity. He would have shouted the truth, loud enough to rattle the glasses on the tables. But Harold was gone. And I was alone. Alone in a hallway filled with laughter I wasn't allowed to share. The doors swung open suddenly. Waiters spilled out with trays of roasted chicken. mashed potatoes whipped into pale peaks, salads with too much garnish. The scent hit my stomach like a cruel joke. I hadn't eaten since breakfast, but I stayed seated. What dignity I had left would not be sacrificed for a plate of catered food. Emma followed the servers with her eyes. "Grandma, come inside with me. Please." I shook my head. "Not yet." "Then when?" she demanded, her voice tight. "When do you stop letting them treat you like this?" Her words cut deeper than she knew. I had asked myself that same question for years. Every Thanksgiving when they seated me at the folding card table in the kitchen. Every Christmas when Andrew forgot to bring me a proper gift, handing me instead a scented candle or a scarf bought last minute. Every holiday, every birthday, every gathering where I was present but not seen. When do you stop letting them treat you like this? I didn't answer her. Not out loud. Another voice pulled me from my thoughts. "Mrs. Hale." It was Mr. Lang again, the venue manager. He carried a folder tucked under his arm, his face drawn tight. He leaned closer, speaking softly so Emma couldn't quite hear. "I need to let you know there's been a complication with the lease payment." I kept my face calm, neutral. "Go on." "The bank reversed the transaction this morning. The deposit didn't clear. Technically, the hall hasn't been paid for tonight." Emma's eyes widened. "What does that mean?" I ignored her and kept my gaze on Lang. "It means what I instructed, doesn't it?" Lang hesitated. "Yes, of course." Emma's head jerked between us. "What are you talking about?" But Lang was already retreating, mumbling something about following up Monday. Emma grabbed my arm. "Grandma, what did he mean? You paid for this place?" I sipped the last of my champagne before answering. "No, darling. I own it." Her jaw dropped. "You own it? This whole place?" I nodded, calm as if we were discussing the weather. 15 years now. Since your grandfather passed." She blinked rapidly, trying to catch up. "But why didn't anyone know? Why didn't you tell Dad?" "Because he never asked," I said simply. Emma sat back hard, the folding chair creaking under her. "So all those speeches, all that talk about Shelby's parents. Lies," I finished for her. She pressed a hand to her forehead, as if the room itself spun. "Oh my God. Grandma. They don't even know who they're standing on." I smiled faintly. "No, they don't. And that's the point." Her eyes burned with fire I hadn't seen in her before. "You can't just let this go. They're erasing you." "They've been erasing me for years," I said, my voice softer now. "Tonight only makes it official." Emma leaned forward, urgent, her hand gripping mine. "Then do something. Please." I met her gaze. I saw Harold in her eyes, the same stubborn demand for justice. And for the first time all night I felt a stir of something inside me. Not pain, not sadness. Power. The banquet doors opened again, spilling warm light and the sound of clinking silverware. Inside they were serving dessert. I caught a glimpse of ridiculous glass towers stacked with miniature cakes and custards. Laughter rose, shallow and bright. I stood, my knees stiff, my spine protesting. Emma rose with me, uncertain. "Grandma, what are you doing?" I smoothed the wrinkles from my dress, slipped the envelope back into my purse, and straightened my gloves. "What I should have done a long time ago," I said. The music swelled inside. The laughter grew louder. And as the doors swung shut again, I felt the silence of the hallway thicken around me, like the calm before a storm. I didn't march straight into the banquet hall. Not yet. Instead, I lingered at the doorway, my palm pressed against the polished wood as if the coolness could steady my pulse. Emma stood beside me, fidgeting, her young face pale with nerves. "Grandma," she whispered. "If you go in there right now, it'll explode. People will talk. They'll never forget it." "That," I said quietly, "is precisely the point." She grabbed my sleeve. "But are you sure?" I looked at her. Really looked. My granddaughter, the only one who had come searching for me when no one else noticed. The only one who listened. "Emma, I've been sitting in the shadows for too long. If tonight is the night they see me, then so be it." Her lips pressed together, torn between fear and loyalty. But she didn't argue. The DJ's voice thundered inside the hall. "Let's raise a toast to the bride and groom one more time before dessert." A roar of clapping followed. Glasses clinked. My son's laugh rang out above the crowd, full and loud, the laugh of a man who believed the story he told about himself. Emma squeezed my hand once, then let go. If you're going in, I'm going with you. I nodded. I didn't say thank you, I didn't need to. Her presence was thanks enough. We pushed through the double doors. The warmth of the room hit me first, thick with perfume, candlelight, and the faint char of overcooked meat. Chandeliers glittered above, scattering golden light across silk-covered tables. Every seat was filled. Dozens of faces turned toward the dance floor where James and Shelby stood, radiant in the glow of their celebration. No one looked at me. Not yet. I walked in slowly, each step deliberate, my cane clicking softly against the marble floor. Emma trailed close, her eyes darting nervously to the crowd. A few heads turned then. Confused glances. A man at the bar frowned, whispering to his companion. A young woman in sequins stared as though I'd wandered in from the street. But I didn't stop. I moved closer to the center, toward the tables where my son stood with Shelby and her glittering parents. Mother. Andrew's voice faltered the moment his eyes caught me. The room hushed a little. Not silent yet, but quieter, like air being sucked out slowly. I gave him a polite smile. Andrew. He stepped forward quickly, his face strained with panic. What are you doing? He hissed under his breath, though not soft enough. Emma heard it, and so did the nearest guests. I'm attending my grandson's wedding, I said calmly. Or is that not allowed? A ripple passed through the crowd. Conversations paused. Someone at the back chuckled nervously. Shelby's mother leaned toward her husband, whispering sharply. Shelby herself blinked, confused, then forced a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. James Jr. looked lost, caught between duty and discomfort. Mother, Andrew said again, more forceful this time, his hand brushing my arm as if to steer me away. Please don't do this. I tilted my head. Do what? Be present? Be acknowledged? His jaw clenched. He lowered his voice. You're making a scene. No, Andrew, I said, letting my voice carry just enough for the nearest tables to hear. You made the scene when you erased me from it. The silence thickened. Guests exchanged glances, whispers spreading like wildfire. Emma stood beside me, her chin raised defiantly, her youth blazing in contrast to my steadiness. I saw James Jr.'s eyes dart nervously around the room. I saw Shelby's mother stiffen, as though bracing for scandal. And I realized in that moment this wasn't about anger anymore. This was about truth. I straightened my spine. For those of you who don't know me, I said, my voice clear, steady, I am Margaret Hale. I am the groom's grandmother. Gasps rippled through the tables. A few guests shifted in their seats, embarrassed. Others craned their necks, curious. And, I added, my voice sharpening, I am also the woman who owns this hall. The room froze. Forks clinked against plates, then stilled. Someone coughed into their napkin. Andrew's face drained of color. Mother. It seems, I continued, ignoring him, that there's been a little confusion tonight. A confusion about gratitude, about acknowledgement, about who made this night possible. Shelby's father cleared his throat, puffing his chest. Now surely. I turned to him, cutting him off with a single glance. Sir, I don't recall inviting you to correct me. He flushed crimson, his lips snapping shut. My heart beat steady, stronger than it had all evening. For the first time that night I felt alive. But before I could continue, James Jr. stepped forward. His young face was pale, sweat glistening at his temple. Grandma, please don't. This isn't the time. Then when is the time? I asked softly, yet the words carried across the hall. When will my family remember me? At funerals, when it's too late to matter. No one answered. The silence itself was answer enough. Emma slipped her arm through mine, anchoring me. Her presence gave me strength. Grandma, she whispered. They're staring. I know, I whispered back. Let them. And then, before I could speak another word, the lights flickered. At first just once, quick and almost unnoticed. But then again. And again. The chandeliers dimmed, sputtered, then blazed back to life. Guests murmured nervously, glancing around. Andrew paled further, his eyes darting toward me. Because he knew. He knew what I'd done. And for the first time all night I allowed myself a smile. The storm was only just beginning. The chandeliers flickered again, longer this time, and the glittering crystals cast strange shadows across the tables. Guests gasped softly like children sensing a storm. Somewhere at the back a woman muttered, "Oh dear Lord. I didn't move. I didn't need to." The hall itself was speaking for me now. Andrew darted forward, his hand gripping my arm tighter than before. "What did you do?" he hissed, his voice strangled, almost panicked. I tilted my head, meeting his eyes. "I told the truth." "No," he whispered, shaking his head, his fingers digging into my sleeve. "You've done something else. The payment." His words cut off when he realized half the room could hear him. He forced a smile toward the guests, pretending it was all nothing, just a family squabble. But his eyes gave him away. Emma tugged at my arm, trying to steady me, but I didn't need steadying anymore. For the first time in years, I wasn't fragile, wasn't overlooked, wasn't disposable. I was steel. James Jr. stepped between us then, his face red, his voice unsteady. "Dad, stop. You're making it worse." Andrew froze, startled. "Worse? She's ruining everything." "She's your mother," James shouted. His voice cracked, raw and young but true. The room erupted into murmurs. Guests whispered to each other, heads tilting, eyes wide. Shelby's friends looked scandalized, like they'd been handed a front-row ticket to a drama they hadn't paid for. Shelby herself stood stiff beside her mother, her smile frozen, her knuckles white around her champagne flute. For a moment I almost pitied her. Almost. I took a step forward, leaving Andrew behind. My knees protested, but I ignored them. I stood tall in the golden light of my own hall and spoke clearly. "You may forget me at your tables. You may leave me in the hallway with the umbrellas. But you cannot erase me from the foundation of this place." I lifted my hand, gesturing toward the high ceilings, the marble floors. "This building stands because I saved it. And tonight it cradles your laughter, your vows, your first dance. But never forget, your comfort rests on my sacrifice." Silence. Heavy, smothering silence. A waiter dropped a fork somewhere near the back. The sound clattered like thunder. Then the lights flickered again, and this time they didn't come back right away. The room plunged into half-darkness, candles the only glow. Gasps filled the air. Shelby whimpered. Guests shifted nervously. I didn't flinch. Emma squeezed my hand tighter, whispering, "Grandma, what's happening?" "It's just truth," I said quietly, finally demanding to be heard. Andrew rushed toward the DJ booth, hissing instructions to staff. I heard fragments. "Generator call, Lang. Keep them calm." And then slowly the lights steadied. Relief rippled through the crowd, nervous laughter breaking the tension. Glasses lifted again. But the mood had changed. The room no longer buzzed with celebration. It thrummed with unease, with the faint hum of scandal simmering under silk tablecloths. Shelby's father finally spoke, puffing out his chest. "This is highly inappropriate. Weddings are not the time for theatrics." I turned my gaze on him, my voice like frost. "Theatrics? Sir, I've sat in silence while my own blood erased me. I've watched strangers celebrated as benefactors while my name was kept from the record. If speaking the truth is theatrics, then perhaps you've mistaken courtesy for weakness." Gasps again. Emma's hand trembled against mine. And then, as if the hall itself conspired with me, a man in a dark suit appeared at the doors. "Mr. Lang." His voice was low but carried in the charged silence. "Mr. Hale," he called across the tables. "We need to discuss the lease." Andrew froze. He tried to wave the manager off, but the damage was done. Guests turned, whispers swirling. "Lease? Hall? Ownership?" Shelby's mother frowned deeply. "Andrew, what is he talking about?" Andrew stammered. It's nothing. A clerical." "It's not nothing," I said, stepping forward again. "It's the truth. You've been dining under false generosity." All eyes turned to me now. I inhaled slowly, steadying the storm in my chest. "I paid for tonight. I made this hall yours if only for a few hours. And I chose silence, until you chose to erase me. That silence ends now." The air thickened. Guests leaned closer, hungry for every word. Andrew's face twisted with rage and fear. "You can't do this," he whispered fiercely. I already have, I replied. For a moment the only sound was the nervous shifting of chairs, the faint hum of the sound system. Then James Jr., pale but determined, looked at me. Grandma, is it true? You own this place? I met his eyes. Yes. His breath hitched. Shelby grabbed his arm, whispering something urgent, her nails digging into his sleeve. His lips parted, but no words came. And then, just as the air felt ready to snap, the chandeliers dimmed again. Not a flicker this time, but a deliberate fade, plunging the room into a candlelit glow. The DJ's microphone crackled, feedback shrieking across the speakers. Guests covered their ears. Someone screamed. And in the dark hush that followed, the sound of my voice filled the hall like a bell. You forgot me. But I am not gone. And tonight you will remember. The room erupted, gasps, shouts, the rustle of panic. Emma clutched my arm. Grandma, what did you do? But I only smiled. Because this storm, this reckoning, had only just begun. For a moment everything stood still. Candles glowed in trembling hands. Shadows leapt across faces pale with confusion, and I could feel the heat of 100 eyes on me. My words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Andrew broke first. He stormed across the floor, his shoes clicking too loud against the marble. You've embarrassed yourself. He spat under his breath, though the whole front table heard him. You've embarrassed me. I didn't blink. You did that when you forgot I existed. His jaw clenched, his nostrils flared. He wanted to shout, I could see it, but years of pretending he belonged in polite company had trained him to swallow rage with a glass of wine. He reached for one, his hand shaking, and drained it in a gulp. From across the room, Shelby's father rose slowly. His face was stone, his voice clipped. Is this true? He asked, not at Andrew but at me. His wife leaned forward, lips pressed thin. Shelby herself wouldn't meet my eyes. It's true, I said calmly. I bought this hall. I kept it alive when it would have been torn down. And tonight happened because I paid for it. Quietly. Without thanks. A murmur rippled through the guests. Andrew's voice broke through, desperate. She's confused, she's old. Don't, I said sharply. The word cracked like a whip. Don't reduce me to age when it's your lies on display. Gasps. Emma gripped my arm so tight her nails bit through the fabric of my sleeve. Her voice was barely a whisper. Grandma, they're all staring. Yes, I murmured. Finally. James Jr. looked torn, shifting between me, his father, and Shelby. His mouth opened, then closed like a boy caught between two teachers. Dad, is it true? Andrew's face flushed dark. James, you don't understand. I'm asking a question. His voice shook, but it was louder now, carrying through the quiet hall. Did Grandma pay for this wedding? Shelby's mother let out a brittle laugh. This is absurd. Our family contributed plenty. That's not what I asked, James snapped, surprising even himself. Did Grandma pay? Silence. Andrew's hand trembled as he set his glass down. His voice was low, flat, dangerous. Yes. The word fell heavy, undeniable. Shelby gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Her mother hissed under her breath. Guests whispered louder now, voices rising like waves. Some looked at me with pity, some with awe, but all of them saw me. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, my chest ached with something raw or older. All those years of dinners skipped, calls unanswered. My name erased from stories told at holidays. It wasn't about money. It never was. It was about being invisible until my purse was open. Emma's voice cut softly through my thoughts. Grandma, are you okay? I nodded faintly. Better than I've been in years. Across the hall, Andrew gripped the edge of the table as though it would anchor him. You couldn't just stay quiet, could you? One night. One damn night where it wasn't about you. I stared at him. One night where I mattered would have been enough. His face crumpled for a flicker of a second, shame maybe or recognition, but then he hardened. You've ruined everything. I smiled sadly. No, Andrew. I've simply reminded you it wasn't yours to begin with. Shelby's father cleared his throat, clearly eager to reclaim order. This spectacle is beneath us. Guests, please enjoy dessert. But no one moved. Eyes stayed locked on us, forks untouched, champagne sweating in the candlelight. And then from somewhere in the back, a voice rang out. Cheers to the grandmother. Laughter burst, hesitant at first, then louder. Glasses lifted, clinking awkwardly, as if the crowd had been waiting for permission to turn scandal into entertainment. My cheeks burned, not with shame but with something hotter. Anger. They didn't toast me out of respect. They toasted like it was a show, like my pain was part of the night's amusement. Emma saw it. She leaned close, whispering fiercely, "Don't let them laugh at you." I straightened. "They can laugh," I said softly, "but they'll choke on it before the night is over." The chandeliers brightened suddenly as the backup generator fully kicked in. Golden light flooded the hall again, erasing the shadows. The illusion of normalcy returned, but only on the surface. Beneath it, tension churned like an undertow. Andrew stalked off toward the terrace, his tie loose, his shoulders slumped. Shelby followed, whispering furiously at him. James Jr. stood frozen, torn, while his bride's family huddled in a stiff cluster, shooting me looks sharp as daggers. Emma sat with me still, her hand in mine, her eyes wide. "Grandma, what now?" I looked toward the head table, the tall towers of desserts untouched, the glittering decorations bought with my money but without my name. "Now," I said, "we decide if this family deserves my silence or my voice." Emma swallowed hard. "And if you choose voice?" I met her gaze. "Then nothing in this hall will ever be the same again." The band began to play again, clumsy, trying to patch the atmosphere with music. Yes, forced smiles, laughter ringing false. But the undercurrent was there, curiosity, fear, hunger for the next crack in the facade. And I realized something then. For the first time all evening, I wasn't waiting anymore. I wasn't hoping someone would notice me, invite me, include me. No, they were waiting for me. The grandmother they'd left in the hallway, the ghost they'd tried to erase, was now the storm at the center of their perfect night. And storms do not wait forever. The music stumbled forward, the band playing something too bright, too fast, as if volume alone could bury the tension. Guests tried to clap along, their voices louder than usual, brittle with nerves. But no one forgot. The air in that gilded room had shifted, and I could feel the weight of every stolen glance pressing down on me. Emma sat straighter beside me, her small hand still clutching mine. "Grandma," she whispered, "they're afraid of you." I almost laughed. Afraid of me? An old woman with gloves and aching knees. But she was right. Fear flickered in Andrew's eyes when he glanced back through the glass doors of the terrace. Fear colored Shelby's face as she whispered behind her palm to her mother. Fear wasn't always about fists or fury. Sometimes, fear came from realizing the person you'd erased still held the match to the room you thought was yours. I leaned close to Emma. "Good. Let them be." Across the hall, James Jr. stood rigid, a man caught between loyalty and shame. His champagne flute trembled in his hand. Finally, he set it down and walked toward me, each step slow, deliberate. Conversations hushed. "Grandma," he said softly as though I might break, "why didn't you tell me?" I studied him, the boy I'd held as a newborn, the child who once begged me to tell him stories about Harold and the war, the teenager who stopped visiting when Shelby appeared. His face was handsome, but it carried none of Harold's warmth, none of the gentleness. Only hunger for what was easy, what glittered. "Because," I said evenly, "I thought love didn't need receipts." He flinched. A shadow of guilt passed across his face, but it didn't stay long. He shifted, glancing toward Shelby, whose eyes burned into his back. He was already weighing which side to stand on. And I saw the answer before he even spoke. "Grandma, maybe you should rest. This isn't the time." My chest tightened, but I kept my voice steady. It's always time to speak the truth, especially when others are busy selling lies. Gasps fluttered through the tables. Someone stifled a nervous laugh. Emma's voice trembled. "James, she's your grandmother. She saved this place. Don't you care?" He turned to her, his jaw stiff. "Of course I care. But it's complicated." "No," Emma shot back, louder than I'd ever heard her. "It's only complicated if you choose the side of lies." Her words cracked like thunder in the silence that followed. Heads turned. The girl who never spoke above a whisper was suddenly the voice in the storm. My heart swelled with a fierce, aching pride. Shelby's father slammed his hand against the table. "Enough of this nonsense. This is our night. We don't owe anyone explanations." I stood then, slowly, letting the chair scrape against the marble. The sound echoed like a blade being drawn. My legs trembled, but I willed them steady. "You're wrong," I said, my voice carrying farther than I expected. "You owe the truth. You owe gratitude. And you owe respect. Not to me alone, but to what built this family long before your chandeliers and silk tablecloths." Andrew stepped forward, his face red. "Mother, please. You're making a fool of yourself." "No," I said, sharper now. "I made a fool of myself every year I sat quietly in corners while you edited me out of your story. Tonight I correct that mistake." The room was so still I could hear the ice melting in glasses. "I bought this hall with money your father and I saved, dollar by dollar, after years of work no one thought was worth remembering. I kept it alive so your children could marry under its ceilings, so your stories could continue. And what did I ask in return? A seat. Not the head table. Not the spotlight. Just a seat at my grandson's wedding." My throat tightened, but I forced the words out. "You gave me the coat rack." Someone gasped. A woman dabbed her eyes with her napkin. Andrew opened his mouth, but no sound came. James Jr. stared at me, pale. His lips parted like he was finally beginning to see something he'd overlooked all his life. I reached into my purse and pulled out the cream-colored envelope, the ribbon still neat. Slowly, I placed it on the nearest table. The card inside was simple, signed Grandma M. I let it rest there, visible to everyone. "That," I said, "was supposed to be my gift. But gifts are for the grateful. And I see none here tonight." A ripple ran through the guests, whispers rising. Shame pressing into the glitter of the hall. Emma squeezed my hand. "Grandma, let's go." But I wasn't finished. I turned to the crowd, to Andrew, to Shelby's perfect parents, to James Jr. himself. Tonight was meant to be beautiful. And perhaps it is, for those of you who measure beauty in chandeliers and cake. But real beauty, the kind that lasts, is in remembering who stood beside you when no one else did. Who gave without asking. Who stayed. My voice faltered, but I let it. One day, when the lights fade and the tables are gone, you'll wish you hadn't thrown your own grandmother into the hallway. Silence. Deep cutting final. And then I turned, coat over my arm, Emma at my side. We walked down the marble hall as the music stuttered, as whispers hissed behind us, as Andrew's voice broke in half calling my name. I didn't look back. At the entrance, Emma stopped, her eyes wet. "Grandma, what will happen now?" I slipped my gloves back on, smoothing the wrinkles with deliberate care. "Now," I said softly, "they learn what it feels like to live without the one person who never stopped forgiving them." Her breath caught. "And us?" I met her gaze, and for the first time that night I smiled. Not the sad, brittle kind, but real, fierce, alive. "We'll be just fine. Because unlike them, we still know the meaning of family." I pushed the doors open. Cool night air swept in, carrying the scent of damp earth and freedom. Outside, the city lights blinked like promises waiting to be kept. Emma slipped her arm through mine, steadying me as my knees protested. Together, we stepped into the darkness, leaving the glittering hall and its hollow celebration behind. Behind those doors, they would spin stories, argue, blame. Tomorrow invoices would arrive, payments would be due, questions asked. The truth had a way of clinging like smoke and silk. They could never wash it out. But I was finished waiting for recognition. Tonight I had seen what I needed to see. The faces of those who would never see me. And I had walked away. That was my gift to myself. The night was cool against my cheeks. Emma squeezed my hand once more. We walked down the steps slowly. Two women bound by blood and choice, no longer invisible. Somewhere behind us, laughter tried to rise again, brittle and hollow. But it couldn't reach me now. Not anymore.